Like many of you guys out there, I really dislike Colby Covington. I disliked him for a lot of reasons. I disliked him because I thought that he was really corny. I disliked him because I heard stories from the training room that didn't paint him in a very nice light. But I think I've gotten to a point now where, at least as an entertainer, I really appreciate Colby Covington, and he's a guy who I really wanted to see fight tonight, and a guy who I want to see in his next fight, and I'm assuming for many fights after. Before I go into my big diatribe on why I now like Covington and why I didn't like him before, I just want to recap what happened at UFC Newark. We'll start off with his wonderful entrance, which was a tribute to Kurt Angle, the WWE wrestler and former gold medal winner for the U.S. wrestling team. So we'll start off here.
Stars and stripes of the United.
Yeah, so that was the walkout there. Obviously, you could hear the people in the background saying "you suck," which was a thing for Kurt Angle as well. So it was nice to see Colby Covington realize that a lot of people don't like him and play into that heel role. It's something I think he's doing a pretty good job of, even if his promos aren't the best, even still. So that was very good. I ended up going out there fighting Robbie Lawler. Surprisingly good performance against Robbie Lawler. So Lawler is a guy who is known to be extremely tough to fight for
Ladies
wrestlers.
and gentlemen, after 5 rounds.
He's a guy who's extremely tough to fight, or extremely tough for wrestlers to fight. Very hard to take down, very hard to hold down. He's had success against guys like Johnny Hendricks, who have fantastic wrestling credentials, better credentials than Colby Covington did. You would hear stories from the room that Colby would actually get the better of Lawler, but you would figure that oftentimes in the room you're not really going full blast with each other, so oftentimes the grapplers do get an edge if it's close, just because the striker's not going to knock his training partner out unconscious every single time they spar. So you wondered maybe Robbie Lawler was holding something back, and for that reason, this fight would not go very well for Colby. It'd be a very, very difficult matchup. I had said before this fight that even if Colby wins, he's probably not going to be ready by November, just because of the injuries he'd probably sustained. That may or may not still be the case. He did land a lot of kicks, took some leg kicks. It's hard to tell if some of those kicks that he landed got checked and if that might have hurt his foot. He didn't claim that there were any injuries, but he also had a lot of adrenaline. So we'll see if everything works out where he's actually ready by November. But he handled Lawler surprisingly well, was able to mix in the takedowns with the strikes so well that Lawler was oftentimes just trying to wait and trying to get a read on Colby and was having difficulty doing so. So Colby's threat of the wrestling made his striking a lot more effective, and a lot of the hard shots that he was landing on the feet were making the wrestling more effective. But even when you get the takedowns, did a decent job on top. You would notice that oftentimes he would circle around Lawler's back, but he would never put his hooks in. That could be just something that he realized in training, that if you put the hooks in Lawler and he ends up reversing and getting on top, that's not a position you want to be in. So he figured better to just kind of ride him folk style, like in a folk style meta, I would say, rather than just trying to sink the hooks in and go for a jiu-jitsu star or a naked choke and then possibly risk losing position. So whatever the case may be, he would kind of get that arm across the neck. He would never get it underneath the chin, though, and that's why he never really went that hard for a choke. But that was part of the reason why he wasn't getting those rear naked chokes early. Is it felt like Robbie Lawler was baiting him, and it felt like he knew better than to take the bait. But even still, landed a ton of strikes. Some were very hard, some were not so hard. But all around great performance. So here was the post-fight interview after he picked up the win.
Rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for decision. The judge and by unanimous decision, Colby Chaos Covington. I'm here with your winner, Colby Chaos Covington, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and what you just turned in was one of the most impressive, inspiring offensive efforts we have ever seen. Volume with your wrestling, with your striking. I'd imagine you got to feel pretty good about your effort tonight. Congratulations on a monumental win.
Yeah, I was truly inspired when the first family came in the building and came to see me backstage. Let's give it up to the Trumps. They're in the building tonight. They're keeping America great. Yeah! I also want to thank the troops. Without the troops, and our servicemen and women, none of this would be possible. They sacrificed our lives for our freedoms, and I wouldn't be able to do this today without them.
You threw nearly 600 strikes tonight. You attempted 18 takedowns, took him down 10 times. How did this fight play out relative to your expectations coming in here tonight?
Hey, let's talk about the lesson we learned tonight. It's a strong lesson that Robbie should have learned from his good buddy, Matt Hughes. You stay off the tracks when the train's coming through, Junior. Don't matter if it's a Trump train or the Colby train. Get out the way!
On the strength of a performance like this, you have only heightened anticipation for a possible fight between you and the UFC's undisputed champion, Kamaru Usman. I gotta think after these 25 minutes, you feel pretty confident about your chances not only to get that shot, but against Kamaru.
Hey, I didn't buy a ticket to come see you guys. You came buy a ticket to see me, so shut up and let me finish my interview.
Great line.
Party fake news, man. Well, I don't want to wait till November 2nd, Madison Square. Do it. It's Madison Square Garden. We can do it tonight. We can do it right now. Where you at? Where you at? I'm coming for you. Doing it right now. The night's still early. Where you at?
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, Colby Covington.
So an interesting little post-fight press conference, or not press conference, but octagon interview there. He did stumble over some words there, kind of like I just did right there. But very, very interesting interview there. Nice how you pointed out that the Trump family actually came. And as a little playoff of that, afterwards he had met with them. And apparently Donald Trump had called Eric Trump on the phone. And Colby got a chance to talk to Donald after the fight. So I'll pull that clip up right here.
By unanimous decision.
Where are we at?
Vegas in the end of the year. And that's that. Otherwise, he's getting stripped of his #1 Power Ranger belt.
Here we go.
I have Colby here.
I saw you guys from.
Here he is.
Mr. President, President Trump is making our country great again, and I'm making the UFC welterweight division great again. So let's unify.
Yeah, so there's the clip right there where he's actually talking to Donald Trump after his fight. So it was pretty cool that he was able to get the Trumps involved. He got part of the Trump family to show up. And then also, I don't know if the tweet's going to pull up, but Donald Trump had tweeted out to Colby Covington pretty much just congratulate, or before the fight, just saying good luck and you're a great American. So for Donald Trump, whose Twitter feed just reaches pretty much everyone in the country and also has a pretty big international reach, to be calling out Colby Covington, it's a real big opportunity for him. And for him to actually get the win there is really big. It'll be interesting to see how he's able to play this off and use it to promote his next fight if it is in Madison Square Garden. But for him, really great opportunity. He's a guy where there's just he's drawn a lot of additional press, and that goes beyond the MMA press. Now he's starting into the political press, and that's pretty cool. It's pretty unique to see a fighter start to take a big world like politics and actually get involved in MMA. So even if you have a lot of people who tune in and want to see him lose and want to see the guy who wears the MAGA hat lose, they're still tuning in. They're still interested. So for that reason, I think it's pretty interesting. As far as why I didn't like him before, one of my big issues with him was that he seemed to be one of these guys who would see some fighters talk trash and think, okay, well, I guess I have to talk trash too if I want to be popular. And the trash talk was just so bad and it was so obviously fake that it's just annoying. But it was just one of those things where over time, even though it still is pretty bad, and although it has gotten better, it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like he just kind of has like become a caricature of himself. So in that way, it's like less annoying than it used to be. The other issue I had was that I had a training partner who had sparred with, or had went down to Florida to train with Colby Covington, and he had some issues. He felt like Colby wasn't the most friendly with him, and also felt like Colby wasn't particularly clean and that he had gotten staph infection. And granted, at ATT, there's a lot of guys you train with, so maybe it was Colby, maybe it wasn't, but he felt like Colby was the reason why he got it. And that staph infection had to take him out of training for a few months. So for those reasons, I didn't really particularly like Colby, but as just a pure fan, Colby has gotten to a point where he entertains me. He's someone who I want to see fight. He brings a lot of interesting storylines to himself other than, oh, it's just another fight for this guy. So I appreciate that. As far as a fighter, I was very impressed with how he did against Robbie Lawler. I was impressed with how he was able to keep the pressure on Lawler. Lawler's a guy who you would think in theory would do good against a guy like Covington, but Covington was able to just beat him down on the feet, take him down, have decent control. He was on the ground. He didn't really go to any jiu-jitsu style positions. He was more trying to wrestle with him than he was trying to do jiu-jitsu with him, but even still, pretty impressive. The fight with Kamaru Usman's a lot more interesting to me now than it was before this Robbie Lawler fight. I think the way that he beat Robbie Lawler tells me that he has a good chance of doing something similar to Kamaru Usman. Now, granted, Usman plays a pretty similar game, but for him to be able to put on that pressure, Usman seems like the kind of guy where if he's not the one putting on the pressure, he might be able to gas quickly, especially if you look at how he wrestled in the past. But after this win, Colby is definitely going to get his name out there a lot more than it was before. It was cool when he actually visited the White House after beating RDA, but now having the pre-fight hype and then now even the post-fight congratulations from the Trump family, it's pretty cool, and it's going to make for some good promos, and I hope the UFC takes advantage of it, because I don't think they did a great job of taking advantage of the Trump connection on this fight, but you'd hope for the next fight that they actually do take advantage of that.